Welcome back to Paris in the Game Inside the Games, presented by Microsoft Copilot. I'm Olympic gold medalist Nastia Liukin.
And I am sport and performance psychologist, Dr. Michael Gervais. And together we're bringing you an inside look at the games like never before.
One day you're rooting for your teammate, rooming together in the Olympic Village. And the next day you're competing against them in the individual competition. How do Olympians balance the tension between being roommates and supportive teammates one day and fierce rivals the next?
We're going to find out. We're going to talk to someone today who has successfully navigated those dynamics and won 5 medals, including a gold medal in the gymnastics all around and a silver medal in the team event, our own Nastia Liukin.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So what was it like?
So I think as teenagers, it was hard. I think that's what people don't quite realize. We were teammates, absolutely, but we all lived in different states. We all had different coaches. And so we were put on a team to become a team weeks before the Olympics. So of course we knew each other like for years. We had trained separately, but competed against each other. And there was never a team competition until a World Championships or an Olympic Games. So it was challenging, I think, at times, because at the end of the day, we were trying to beat each other. And there were only 6 spots for that Olympic team for the team. And then within that, there's the individual competitions, both in the all-around, the event finals. And the way that the competition works is, say for the event finals, top 8 from the qualifying round go to the finals. Well, only 2 per country. So pretty much on almost every event, the US would have at least 3 athletes finish top 8. So somebody was always knocked out of possibly winning a medal. So it was, it was things like that you always want the best for your teammates. You're always cheering for them. But at the end of the day, you're also trying to beat them. And then you're going to sleep next to each other, looking on the other side of the room at somebody that you care about and that you want the best for, but you're also trying to beat on the competition floor.
So 2 things. One is, as teenagers, I'm so glad you bring that back up, because the youth of gymnastics is sometimes overlooked and forgotten, that you barely know how life works. You've been in gymnastics,
That's all you know.
Right. So you know the gymnastics world really well. Mm-hmm. And at that age, relationships are really tricky. There's a lot going on. And to be able to navigate it well is something I think we can pay attention to. And when you're looking back, do you feel like you navigated it well?
Yeah, I think we did. I don't like to live with regret. I do think that we all did the very best that we could. We were supportive teammates. I think the biggest problem or issue was not necessarily just us. It was all the noise around us trying to put us against each other.
Yeah. And this is really important. The best of the best of the best, they're able to navigate that noise and concentrate really well. It's almost like all that stuff fades away and you know what you're here for. You know what it is that you're working towards. But I hear you saying, I was trying to beat her, as opposed to I was going to just be my best.
Well, yeah. So basically, that was what I was trying to do, but we all know only one person can win. So I think it's more just the idea of going from teammates one day, and then as soon as you're going to sleep, the next day, you're not necessarily teammates anymore. You're rivals.
Yeah. Okay. So there's not a right or wrong. Was that your orientation? I'm going to win, or I'm going to be my best.
No, I'm going to be my best.
That was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like for me, I didn't want to ever win just because somebody had a fall or a mistake or anything. I wanted everybody to have the best day of their entire life in that competition, because that is the true winner, or that is the true standings. And sure, that doesn't necessarily always happen, and that's part of the sport. But I think, you never want to win by default. And so I think I think we all were, we all did want the best for each other. It was challenging.
Were you friends?
Yes, we were so close. And by we, I mean Shawn Johnson, my teammate, and I was we went 1-2 in the all around at the Olympics, and like we were like, we read the same books. We had like, we really were very similar because we wanted the same thing.
I would love to have a conversation with the two of you, because I bet it's more complicated than anyone could really imagine. Other than, I think the way that we get close to it is when we're in a same company, we're working together, but there's promotions, and you know, certain resources go certain places if you do well. And so you want to do well for some of those external benefits. There's something there that many of us can draw on, but there's a sports psychology first, as the lore of the beginnings of it started when there was a professor who saw his son fish. And then he noticed, you know, at the cadence of his fishing, and then his son brought a friend over, and then they started fishing together. And his son threw out, like, I'll make it up, double the amount of cast rods. And so his son was doing a lot more active, more competitive when he had a friend around. So sometimes having a friend brings the best out of us.
Absolutely. And that is, I know we would both say that if Shawn was sitting here right now, I truly believe we brought out the best in each other. And the level of gymnastics kept growing, and it kept getting more difficult. And every single month we would come together for training camps for 2.5 days, 3 days. So of course we were like looking at each other a little bit, you know, even though like we were friends and whatever, but like you're trying to be the best version of yourself, but you also know at the end of the day, there can only be one winner in the individual, you know, finals, whether it's an event, whether it's the all around. But we both agree that, you know, we would, you know, especially on the days that you're tired or you're sore, you don't want to go to practice or whatever, like that was a motivation at those, you know, some of those days.
Like, okay,
like she's training hard.
She's going, I'm tired. I need
to go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it works really well.
Yeah.
And right underneath the surface, there's two things psychologically that would make a significant impact for you or for somebody. If you have a high self-efficacy, that's a fancy psychobabble word. But efficacy means a sense of power. So if you feel strong within yourself, then those folks tend to look at things more as a challenge versus a threat. So those are the two main variables, threat versus challenge. If you see it as a challenge, like, oh, look what she's doing, I'm going to step up, as opposed to, oh, look what she's doing. Man, this is a threat to my whole world.
It's like scary.
Yeah.
Almost.
Like this isn't like, what's wrong with me? And like, she's getting more resources or whatever it might be. And so the threat piece spins out a whole anxiousness. And then that gets in the middle of the relationship. It is possible. But I don't know if it was for you. You can be whole and have a great sense of self, want to do your very best, also want to beat the other person, and also at the same time want them to be successful. But maybe you just want to be a little, you know, like you want to have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Yeah. So were you able to navigate that way with Shawn?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we both really were. And, you know, I think the hardest part truly was after the Olympics ended. And we kind of went, you know, not our separate ways, but a little bit. And, you know, she was off doing her post-Olympic stuff. I was off doing mine. And it was just very different because we were as similar as we were like internally. We were complete opposites in terms of like our brand. And so if there was a sponsor, it was always like they would never sign both of us. It was always either Shawn or Nastia.
Wait, weren't you guys the cover girl?
You know what? You're right. We were. That was probably the one thing that we had together.
Easy breezy,
beautiful.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The first athlete cover girls. Yes, you're actually right.
Yeah.
Everything else was always, you know, you either pick one or the other. Yeah. And so I think that was hard because we truly did like each other and we were friends and we thought it would be more fun to do things together. And it was, you know, again, like reminding everybody that we were teenagers. So how are you supposed, like, you want the best for each other. You're so similar. You understand what you just went through. Like nobody else in the world can actually
There's probably
understand.
No one else that really knows what it's like.
Absolutely. And so now you have, you know, then you have each other, your teams that are also like, you know, going against each other in the sense of like management and all of that. And it just became not great. We, for no reason, they're like, nothing happened. It was just over time. We didn't like really speak for 8 years. And it was just like we kept, anytime we would go to an event or somebody would ask about, one another, we would just do our standard, oh yeah, she's great. Like I haven't seen her on, we're both busy, and just kind of move on. And like we both saw, like we would like stalk each other like online, like, we would like know exactly where like we were and what we were doing, but we wouldn't follow each other. It was like I would not do that part again, but I think.
What got complicated? Why do you think that happened?
I think
was it just easier?
It was just, no, I think truly it was like at the time, maybe management like pitting us against each other almost. And then like the sponsors, and like it just kept growing and growing and growing to the point where it became, we started almost believing it as teenagers. And I think that was hard for us.
I could make a case that as a psychologist, that it would almost be necessary. When two people grow really close at a young age, there's a chance that they grow too close and they end up smothering each other and not being able to fully express themselves. So the time apart, I could make a case, would be one of the greatest things for the friendship.
Yeah.
To get to know yourself, to know what you really enjoy and appreciate, to know how other friendships work. So if you wanted to, you could come back and be great friends to each other.
Absolutely. And I think we both did want that, but I think after each year that kind of went by, it was like, how do we do that? And I'll admit, she was the bigger person, and she actually reached out, and her, at the time, fiance, but now husband, Andrew, kind of like nudged her to do so. And obviously grateful for that and for him. And she texted me, and I remember getting the text. I was in the middle of doing an interview for the New York Times, and her wedding was around the corner and I wasn't invited.
Oh, there you go.
And yeah. I was like, that sucks, honestly.
That hurt.
And he asked me about it. Like, oh, are you going to the wedding? And I was like, oh, I'm not sure yet, because I was not about to say I wasn't invited. And I said, I'm not sure yet. I need to check my schedule. That was like my lie, obviously. And
it is amazing what we do to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, but I don't know why I said that. Maybe like embarrassment. I have no idea. I kid you not. He got up to use the restroom. I looked at my phone and I had a long text message from her. So then he comes back. I'm like, well, what I said about the wedding. I'm just kidding. But basically it led to us, going, but we had changed numbers a few times. So we didn't even have each other's contact info. And it led to us having an in-person conversation. She was coming into New York for a work event and I was going to school there. We met for the first, actually met as adults now and had the first conversation. I still remember it was at the Bowery Hotel at Gemma, and she walked in and we hugged and cried. It was a moment that we didn't even need to say anything, but it was an I'm sorry almost for letting this happen. And we nothing happened. And that was the confusing part, I think. And she's like, I've been watching everything. I'm so proud. We both said the same thing basically to each other. And she was like, it would really mean nothing more if you were at the wedding. I understand if you don't want to or feel comfortable. And I was like, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And so I went, and yeah, it was just a moment of realizing that as much as sports can unite people, whether it's a team, whether it's the world, you have to also take care of that and nurture it. And we didn't do that, I think.
I love where you just took it. We don't get to be in relationships if we don't take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, you had all this intense shared experiences. You had a separation. You had to come back together. And now it's up to how do you take care of that relationship moving forward? I had a similar experience. My wife, myself, we were friends in high school and we were dating in high school. And we had a friend that palled around all the time with us. And he was his name is Mike Ardelia, and he was, the three of us were always hanging out. And then as we got older, we got married, and he found somebody that he really, he ended up marrying. And then it didn't fit. It didn't work. And so it took a lot of pain, and there's a lot of, call it separation.
Yeah, almost a loss from your life.
100%.
Yeah.
And then we've come back around. And so that coming back around, I'm like, oh.
You like feel that.
It's actually deeper. We don't talk all the time, and we live in different places in the world, but
if she called me and if I called her, like I know for a fact, if we actually truly needed something, like we needed help, or like it was, I'm not saying like we like don't answer each other's calls, but we're both busy, like actually. And so, she's married and has kids. And so it's a whole different life. But I know that if one of us called and said, I need, like, we would stop, like I would probably walk out of this and like go help her. And like, that's how I feel about my whole Olympic team. Like there's 6 of us, and I'm the only child, so I didn't have siblings. So they're my siblings in the sense of we all know and feel the same way about one another, because when you experience something like the Olympics, you have this bond, like this incredible bond that's very difficult to explain for the rest of your life. And you don't like get to have that or create that or build that with anybody else.
And it's your sport in particular is very complicated because you've got these radically intense shared emotions, teammates and rivals, or teammates and competitors is probably a better way to think about it. When you think about a great teammate, I think some of the characteristics are, if I oversimplify it, they really know how to support me. A great teammate to me is, and when I'm a great teammate, I know exactly how to support that person and how to challenge them. Did you find that as teammates, when you're competing, that they had the support and the challenge, or was it like not clear because it was so complicated for, I think, a teenager?
Yeah, I don't think that we ever, I guess I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but that was never my thought process. Like I think maybe more so like the challenge part. Like I think we all felt challenged enough, like just being around each other and like training together, competing together in a weird way was a challenge. And I think supporting each other, that was like a no-brainer. Like for us, it was super easy.
So the support is real. The hugs on the side.
Absolutely.
When we
like,
no,
it's a good
those
question.
Hugs are real.
Yes, absolutely. And
like,
I think
nice job.
Yes, like truly.
You nailed it.
Absolutely.
And when they take an extra step or they fall off the beam, and everybody knows that they're kind of out of a medal run at this point.
Yeah.
Is that hug real too?
Absolutely, because you truly want the best for one another.
No, you don't want the best. You said you want to beat her.
Well, I want the best. I want to do my best, and I want the best. I want for her to do her best because I want.
But when she does her best and she steps on the top podium, what's that like? And you did.
That means I just need to go back and work harder.
And you did your best.
That's okay.
And you took a
because
you took
that's
a fourth.
all I. That's all I.
Not that you know what it's like to take a fourth.
I'm sure I do.
I'm sure I do.
Wait, actually, yes, 2007 World Championships, the all-around finals. I fell on beam. I was wearing a purple leotard. Yep.
Oh,
I remember it.
Scar tissue here.
Yeah. Never wore purple leotard after that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think you do because you don't, like I said, like at least for me, like I never wanted to win just because somebody had a mistake. So if I had a mistake and
you didn't have relief, she fell.
No, never.
So that hug is not like,
no.
Okay, so it was real. Like real. I feel you.
Yeah, like.
And what would you say to each other? What's being said on those hugs?
When a good routine or a mistake or
let's open it. Yeah, let's say somebody has.
Also, see, this gets even more like taking it to a step further. Is it the team competition or the all around finals?
Let's go all around. It's a little bit cleaner, meaning that you're truly competing against.
So we're still wearing the same warm up, same, basically this, well, everybody used to always wear the same all around, the leotard in the all around finals.
So it looked like a team.
Yeah, except the first time that didn't happen was our year, I guess. We wore the same leotard in different colors. And that wasn't like our choice. It was just kind of like told.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, I guess nobody really had a mistake. There was a moment I remember that we both remember so clearly. And it's we were bummed that the cameras didn't get it on the TV broadcast, but the photos that we have of it, they're so powerful. So what happened, it was the last event. And the way that it was seated based upon the qualifying round, the order. So I finished my floor routine and Shawn was after me. It was the final event. So she knew exactly what she needed in order to, be ahead of me. But it was this moment that I had. So I had finished my routine, saluted, and I'm walking off of the podium as I'm going down the stairs and she's coming up to go on her final routine. And we just looked at each other as we passed each other by. No words were said, just eye contact. And we both just put our hand out like this. We had never done this before. We both put our hand out and to one another and just grabbed each other's hands. And the image, there's one from each side. And it's just so cool because it was almost like she was saying good job and I was saying you can do it. No words were needed. And that was it. So if that maybe can explain the relationship, how we actually felt, it's that photo.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And we both talk about it often because it was that's the epitome of our friendship.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that you've got it memorialized with a photo.
Yeah,
moment.
It's
really
special.
Cool. So I think most of us will never have the experience like what you've just described, but we do have people in our lives that we work with, and there is that tension. And I think the takeaway for today is, for me at least, is the self-efficacy piece is to really pour into having a sense of, I have power on how I decide how to do my life, independent of the external conditions, independent of the tension from another person. I can choose. And there's 5 main components to building self-efficacy. 3 of them are relevant here. One is when you feel yourself keyed up and you've got tension or there's some extra activity in your body, you have butterflies or whatever, knowing how to manage that, knowing how to breathe pays dividends because you don't spill all over the place if you have a sense of how to take care of yourself. So this is one of the reasons why breathing training is so important. The second is mental imagery, is to see yourself later being successful, being a great teammate, if that matters, being precise and agile with whatever you're doing, whether it's a beam or in business. So using your imagination to do that. And then the third is framing things as a challenge rather than a threat to your identity.
Yeah, I like that.
But really seeing the specialness of the challenge and figuring out how to be excited about that challenge ahead. And if you can practice those 3, breathing training, not just when it's intense, but well before, breathing training, imagery, and then framing things as a challenge, I think we end up being able to support and challenge each other to be our very best. And back to the fish story, is that when we do that together, we do create a rising tide where when you're a little bit better and it helps me be a little bit better. And on my off days, we end up being just a little, maybe 2-3% better, maybe 20% better, who knows, but it creates something really special. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing all of your Olympic wisdom into this conversation. And I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, so am I. All right, now it's time for our AI Insights brought to you today by NTT Data and Microsoft. NTT Data is transforming the workplace with Copilot for Microsoft 365. Hey, Copilot. Based on this conversation, can you draft a letter to Shawn that I could have sent her if I reached back out first in 2016?
Dear Shawn, I've been thinking about you a lot lately, and after all this time, I felt compelled to reach out.
Okay, this seems a little personal, so I think I'm going to read it by myself first.
I totally agree with that. And this has been a great conversation. This is a great way to use AI. And I love what Copilot's doing here for us. So you can, if Nastia approves, you can check out on our website the actual letter. So go to findingmastery.com/thegames.
And we will see you again tomorrow from Paris.